छैन म सक्षम छु कि बुवामालाई सम्झाएर बिहेको के कुरा नगर्ने भन्ने भन्नुहुन्छ।
पहिला खेती गरेको पढ़ाया जाता है। अब लड़का सबको खेती से पढ़ाया जाता है, लिखाया जाता है। तो फर्क तो जरूर बा, बहुत परिवर्तन आ गई पहले से। अब हमारा और पढ़ाओ कम चाहना बजे तंग और पढ़ाया जा
बच्चा के सुरक्षा से रखे के पड़ो। ये सब इति बाद कोई बात नहीं है।
किनकि महिलाहरू सबैभन्दा केटाहरूभन्दा पछाडि परेछन् अनि नपढे आफ्नो भविष्यमा बच्चाहरूलाई दुःख हुन्छ, पढाउन सक्दैन। अनि हामी पढ्यो, गार्जियन पढेपछि हामी सबै शिक्षित हुन्छौँ, समाज पनि विकास हुन्छ। आफ्नो समुदायमा पनि
Whenever you see me, you will see them.
Pourquoi quelqu'un comme Zlatan, à qui tout le monde demande des autographes partout dans le monde, partout où il va, pourquoi on ferait pas l'inverse? Pourquoi ça ne serait pas Zlatan, cette fois-ci, à demander l'autographe à des personnes, des hommes, des femmes, des enfants que personne ne connaît au monde? Et là, l'aventure a commencé.
For me, the biggest disease in world is hunger. There's 805 million going through this hunger. And if I could, I would put every name on my body, but I'm sorry, I'm not so big. I'm big, but not so big. It's not a problem we cannot solve. I think we can solve it. And we just need to reach out to the world with this message. And I have highly respect for what World Food Program stands for. I stand behind it. And for me, what they do, it's amazing.
Hello and welcome to Trade Compass. I'm Jesus Serrano, here at the World Trade Organization headquarters in Geneva. Today, we turn the spotlight on this international body, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary in January 2015. The year holds promise for progress on international trade. With us is today the WTO's Director General, Roberto Acevedo, who shared his hopes on the advancement of the Bali Commitment on Trade Facilitation and the Doha Development Agenda.
One important thing we did is we created a trade facilitation agreement facility, which now has raised a very high level of interest on the part of donors, for example. We already have people engaged. The beneficiaries are very much mobilized, trying to see how we're going to implement that, because the facility is not only going to be about funds. To finance the technical assistance to be provided. It is also about finding partners and helping developing country members to reach the donors, to reach the technical assistance providers, to reach other international organizations that can help And therefore, we are not only talking about funds, we are talking about partnership with a large number of countries, donors, entities, international organizations are going to be a big part of that. So the World Bank, we have been working very closely with the World Bank, but also others, UNCTAD, the ITC, of course, WCO, World Customs Organization, and many other partners that we are working together now. We have to continue the implementation of the Bali decisions, and that is extremely important. And there are many steps that we have to follow. And then we have to also, of course, move on to the work program. And the work program for the conclusion of the DDA is the biggest chunk, I think, of what we have before us. And the most important thing is to retain the sense of urgency. This is something that is needed, systemically important. We have to do it quickly. More than that, I think we also need to have a high level of engagement, including in capital, so that's something that the countries have to be mindful of. And also a sense of pragmatism, where people show flexibility in the things that we can achieve, and a high degree of sensitivity to what is possible and what is not possible. So it's about focusing not on all items of our wish list, from A to Z, but which ones are really important and that I really need for this round. By July, we should be finalizing the work program for the conclusion of the DDA. That's a very important mark. By the end of the year, we have attributed priority also to conclude the negotiations on public stock holdings for food security reasons, so that's very important. We have the ministerial conference also in December in Nairobi, the 10th ministerial conference. We have, in the middle of the year, we have the global review of the Aid for Trade initiative, which is also extremely important, and we'll have heads of international organizations. We're going to have donor countries here. We have the beneficiaries also together at the highest level. So this is going to be a very important event as well. We have the public forum in October, which is also another important landmark in the agenda of the WTO. It will be not only discussing trade and discussing the challenges of the world, the global economy, but also celebrating what we have done and achieved over 20 years. We need to help in whichever way we can to deliver growth, to deliver jobs, and trade is clearly going to be a very important part of that. Our hope is that the membership will be mindful of the importance of the WTO as a contributor to growth and jobs, but also as a contributor to global governance. The WTO, together with the World Bank and the IMF, integrates the tripod of global economic governance. So I hope that people will remember that we have a very big role to play in all economic and trade issues, and that they show the political will that is necessary to deliver the kind of contribution that the WTO can give in this scenario.
Trade is a tool for development which can help to improve lives and livelihoods around the world. Countries can trade their way out of poverty into prosperity. The WTO believes that traction in trade can help to propel the global economy towards greater growth in 2015. I'm Jesus Serrano. Join me again in the next edition of Trade Compass. Thank you for watching.
For most of their lives, the 1,200 fishermen who live in this village in the south of India described themselves as slaves. Every one of them was in debt to moneylenders, a debt most had inherited from their fathers. Bharati Dasan inherited a debt of 50,000 rupees, about $800. After spending a minimum of 12 hours at sea, he had to hand over his entire catch to the moneylenders to service the debt. Bharati says the moneylenders were in cahoots with the local traders, who would set the price of the fish far below market value. He was not allowed to trade with anyone else or pay off the entire loan when he had a bumper catch. It was impossible to ever pay off what he owed.
We were in a difficult situation. We even shed tears. Even though we were going to sea, we didn't have a happy and peaceful life, because on the shore we didn't get a good price for our fish.
And in 2004, this difficult situation was made even worse by the tsunami, which destroyed Bharati's boat and nets. He and his wife Durga Lakshmi could see no way out of the cycle of debt.
We didn't have money for our expenses, so we borrowed more money with interest. When our child fell sick, we had to take her to the hospital. We didn't have the money, we had to borrow it. This is suffering.
If it kept going like this, what would happen to our village and our people? We were very sad to think of our future in this village.
Then 3 years ago, Bharati's neighbor Murugayan Manivanan heard that fishermen in a nearby village had formed a group called a Fish Marketing Society, through which they collectively paid off their debts. He went to see how it worked, and when he returned, he convinced Bharati and 90 others to join him. As a group, they finally had some bargaining power, and they convinced the village leaders to help them open up the sale of the fish to the highest bidder. When this happened, the corrupt merchants left the village.
We could not have removed the merchants as individuals. Since we acted as a group, they themselves walked out.
The next step was to clear their debts with the moneylenders. To do this, they found support from a local project, which was actually set up to help fishermen recover from the tsunami. But the project team soon saw that the fishermen's debt prevented them from having a sustainable income, which is the only way they could recover from future calamities.
It was very essential that we redeem them from this debt, so that they were in a position to then offer their catch for the best.
So the project, with support from the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development, gave the fish marketing societies a lump sum of money to pay off the members' debts. Although they still need to pay back the money, the societies have appointed their own auctioneers, so every day numerous merchants vie to purchase the daily catch.
Previously, we were like slaves. Now we have freedom in selling. Everybody has this feeling. Now we're getting a good price for our hard work, and it's only possible due to our unity.
Bharati had a bumper catch today, and he's happy with the price he gets at the auction. He collects his money at the society office, where a percentage is deducted to pay back his debt. He also pays for insurance, which has been collectively negotiated by society members. Even with these deductions, his income has increased by 30%, and he can send his children to a private school. In just 1 year, he's paid off his inherited debt, and he's taken out a further loan to buy more nets.
I was liberated from the slavery life. I feel very happy. I now have peace of mind.
So far, the project has worked with more than 30 fish marketing societies, releasing over 1,100 fishermen from their debt to the moneylenders. With more societies set up each year, fishermen all along this coast will soon share Barati's feeling of liberation.
Kiroka village is home to nearly 6,000 people, most of whom depend on agriculture for their livelihoods. With climate change compounding the existing challenges of soil erosion, deforestation and population growth, it was time for intervention.
The vision of FAO aims to work together with local populations on how best to adapt current practices and how best to identify crop varieties which are suitable for drier circumstances.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations started training farmers and developed systems of agriculture to enhance sustainable land use and water management. The system of rice intensification, SRI, is a new technology in rice production. Unlike the conventional method of continuous flooding of paddy fields, SRI involves intermittent wetting and drying of paddies. Once a paddy has enough water, it is released for use in the next paddy. Tree nurseries were established in Kiroka village to help create woodlots, conserve water sources, and for economic purposes.
After training, we started tree nurseries and later transplant the seedlings to the farms and areas without trees.
The tree planting project was also introduced in schools.
In class, we explain to our pupils what environment is, and when we come outside, we show them the benefit of planting trees.
Energy-saving stoves were also introduced as part of the project and have reduced tree cutting by 80%.
The energy stove has really helped me. It does not use a lot of firewood, cooks very fast, and it keeps the food warm.
With energy-saving stoves, firewood that lasted for a week now lasts for a month. Soil erosion is another climate change problem.
We were taught about contours and how to measure them, how to plant bananas in order to strengthen the contours.
From the training provided by FAO and SUA, Kiroka farmers have acquired skills that will last for generations.
Our plan is to own large pieces of land with trees.
We are looking at a total collapse of these markets. If you take any economy in the world and you take out, number one, commerce, and you take out the logistics, everything will stop. I don't care where you are. Everything will stop. In car, this is exactly what is happening.
There are people crying when they pay you. There is a lot of insecurity. People cry when they come to the market to buy things.
Civil servants have only been paid 1 month in the last 6 months. What are we going to do? How are we going to eat? Where are we going to sleep?
You're seeing markets which are emptying up because either traders have left or the stocks are running out.
In Car there is no money because of the war, and goods are not sold. I used to buy this on a Monday and it would be sold by Wednesday, but now it takes me a week to sell this fish. Prices have gone down and I'm losing a lot of money.
It is about general population. Everybody either directly or indirectly is affected. And that is extremely concerning.
I used to sell goods at kilometer 5 on the road, but now it's very hard to find food to sell there. There are too many clashes, and I was unable to sell my goods. So I came here in the center to sell. Security is the most important thing. We're waiting for security here.
They have the gold, they have the diamond, they have the timber, they have very, very productive land. But unfortunately, since their independence, they have been immersed in conflict. So they have really never realized the potential which they have.
C'est seulement ce que les gens vont faire là, c'est pas bien. Parce qu'ils vont maltraiter et faire du mal à les Centrafricains.
What people out there are doing is not good, because they are mistreating and hurting CAR. That is why we need humanitarian aid to help us.
International community. If they don't send money now, they will be sending a lot more money later. From now onwards, every month, the cost of this operation is going to increase exponentially. Let's move, let's start, because if we don't do it now, as soon as the rainy season comes, the roads get blocked, then if you have to move whether food, whether agricultural inputs, anything, we are going to be doing it in a very difficult environment, and in the process, we are going to lose some innocent lives.
Hello, I'm Susanna Pak. Welcome to Trade Compass. We are in La Mourra, France, in the middle of the ski season, where tourists and sporting enthusiasts, both big and small, are here for the annual cross-country ski race, the second longest in the world after Sweden. Here, ecotourism is a money spinner for the community, so environmental sustainability is key for socio-economic growth.
Je fais partie des privilégiés qu'ont fait toutes les transjurassiennes depuis 1980.
On attend ça toute l'année, donc on est impatient, quoi. J'ai déjà les skis aux pieds.
On essaye de faire de l'événementiel. Donc je vous ai dit, on a eu 2 étapes du Tour de France, donc ça nous a donné une très très bonne notoriété. Et puis on essaye de capitaliser sur l'événementiel globalement avec des événements comme on a eu aujourd'hui, la Transjurassienne, où là on fait connaître à l'international le Jura.
It really does highlight all the key ingredients of a successful tourism project. So first of all, it's based on a core set of events, trigger events, in this case the big race. Secondly, it combines a complementary set of innovative tourist products. Local community organisations in 4 villages got together to, as a cluster, inside a larger cluster that they created of over 100 villages inside this regional nature park. And what they have done is enable, through clustering, a voice to argue for what is needed to make this happen. It's enabled them to talk to local and regional government to get the financing in place that was needed.
Il faut des gens du cru qui maintiennent leur patrimoine et qui le vendent bien, mais sans le détériorer, quoi, sans faire que du business. Il faut garder la nature ce qu'elle est, parce que ça c'est quand même une richesse.
Le ski nordique, c'est particulier entre les sapins. Voilà, il y a des endroits où on peut faire de grandes montées, mais également skier sur le plat dans des endroits assez beaux.
On peut skier toute la journée sans passer au même endroit, ou passer d'un massif à l'autre. C'est des paysages qui sont différents. C'est le pays du ski de fond, c'est puissance 10. En France, il n'y a pas ça ailleurs, peut-être même en Europe.
On redécouvre chaque fois le plaisir de reskier dans le Jura.
C'est une station familiale, on aime bien, les enfants peuvent jouer, c'est bien sympathique.
sont des zones où on ne pénètre pas, où on ne pénètre pas à certaines périodes de l'année. Par exemple, pour préserver le grand tétras, en période hivernale, il y a des zones où on ne peut pas pénétrer parce qu'on sait que le grand tétras réside sur ces zones-là l'hiver. Il y a des zones où on sait qu'on ne mettra jamais de remontée mécanique parce que c'est pas possible, c'est interdit, parce qu'il y a un impact soit visuel, soit potentiel sur l'environnement.
Being able to see the wood for the trees makes a whole lot of difference to the present and future of this community. With careful planning and conservation of natural resources to preserve the beauty and heritage of this area.
Le Jura est spécialisé dans les jouets en bois. On va retourner aux Rousses pour aller dans un magasin qui est spécialisé dans tout ce qui est objet de décoration en bois, jouets en bois. Et moi j'aime beaucoup ça, j'aime beaucoup tout ce qui est décoration en matière naturelle. Donc c'est aussi pour ça que j'aime bien venir ici.
Ils sont aussi liés un petit peu à l'approche que les gens ont de la montagne et de la nature également. Donc c'est vrai que nous on propose des produits en bois, donc forcément on a un lien, ça c'est sûr.
Tous les artisans qui travaillent avec les produits du Jura, donc le hêtre, le frêne, le sapin, l'épicéa, tout est replanté après pour préserver la nature. Mon employeur travaille avec beaucoup de tourneurs du Jura. Il a des artisans qui travaillent pour lui un petit peu partout dans le Jura, dans la France aussi.
Tourism is trade, and for most of the world's poorest countries, it's actually the largest single foreign exchange earner. For example, the latest figures show that tourism generates about 1.4 trillion of global exports. It accounts for around 30% of trade and services, and for most developing countries, about 83% of them, tourism is in the top 5.
On a des touristes qui viennent nous voir, c'est aussi parce que l'environnement est préservé.
Little has changed in this area of the Jura because the locals want it that way, to retain its essence and charm so others can enjoy it too. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.
Явах би зөндөө мөрөддөг. Сургууль дарахаараа сонгонд яваад амар гоё. Бас хөгжилтэй олон ажилласаараа юунэртэй тэр бүжиг зааж өгөөд амар гоё хөгжилтэй нэ. Намайг Анаачин гэдэг. Би 5 дугаар ангид сурдаг. Өнгөрсөн жилээс эхэлж энэ цаасан урлал сонгонд хамрагдсан. Тэгээд манай энэ цаасан урлал сонгон маань календар ашиглаж энэ ширээний ном хийсэн байгаа. Энэ болохоор цаасан шигтгэмэл цаасны урмайгаар малгай, цамц. Энэ болохоор янз бүрийн нугалмай хайчилбараар ашиглаж юм тугалны нухай юмгээд хажууд нь юм дөрвөн мөрчлөлийг зохиосон.
За тэгээ энэ танхим маань байгуулагдсанаар хүүхдүүд маань одоо энэ танхимдаа дус сонирхолтой. За энд орж ирж хичээлээ хийн. За сургуулийн олон нийтийн ажилд хүүхдүүд маань бие дан оролцсон одоо улам нэмэгдэж байна.
Дөрөвд хүүхдийн маань ачи маань нутгийн хүмүүний сургуульд сурч байна. 2 дугаар ангид. Энэ одоо хүүхэд хөгжлийн төв бий болсоор энэ хүүхдүүд одоо чөлөө цаг нь одоо өөртөө бас ашигтайгаар хүмүүжих сурахад нь бол нэмэр танд болж байгаа. Урд нь бол яг хүүхэд хичээл тарлаа тогтоод алга болчихдог. Ийм л байлаа. Одоо энэ хүүхэд хөгжлийн төв бий болсоор бид бол одоо эцэгэх бид нар санаа зовхгүй хичээлийн даалгаврыг хийлгэж тэгээд энд л одоо тоглож ярьж хүмүүжиж байгаа.
Эмээдээ тусалж гэрийнхээ ажлыг хийдэг байсан. Ус зөөж чаддаггүйсэн. Тэгээд тэквондод хичээлээд тэгээд дугуйнаад булчмаа сайжраа тэгээд чадалтаад усаа зөөдөг гэсэн. Эмээ Одоо гэрийнхээ бүх ажлыг хийж чаддаг болсон юм чи одоо ээж авдаа ч гэсэн тусалж байгаарэ гэсэн. Надтай хамт 100% тоглодог байсан найзууд маань бүгд надтай хамт сонгонд орсон. Зарим нь уран уншлаг, даам, тэгээд тэквондо эдэрт орсон.
मैले यो गाउँमा चाहिँ 180 धुरी छन् त्यो सबै नै हेर्ने गरेछ स्वयंसेविका म एउटा मात्रै छु यहाँ म एउटा महिला स्वयंसेविका भएको नाताले मेरो जेसुकै भए पनि मैले गर्नुपर्ने कर्तव्य मैले छोडेको छैन गर्भवती आमाको बारेमा सुत्केरी आमाको बारेमा 5 वर्ष मुनिको बच्चाको बारेमा गर्ने मेरो कर्तव्य र जिम्मेवारी थियो त्यो कारणले गर्दा मैले जिम्मेवारी निभाउनको लागि म मेरो घर लडेको भोलिपल्ट र पर्सिपल्ट यो सबै गाउँ डुलेर हिँडेँ चाहिँ गाउँ डुलेर म आफ्नो पीडा आफैमा राखेर मैले गाउँको दिदीबहिनीको लागि र बालबच्चाको लागि गर्भवती सुत्केरी महिलाको लागि चाहिँ राम्रो होस् त्योभन्दा पछाडि चाहिँ गाउँमा धेरै घर लडेर वस्तुभावहरू मरेको हुँदा त्यो पशुपन्छीहरू मरेर त्यसले दूषित हुन्छ भनेर म चाहिँ सबै गाउँभरि प्रत्येक घरमा गएर डुलेर सरसफाइको बारेमा स्वास्थ्य सम्बन्धीको बारेमा अहिले स्वास्थ्य सम्बन्धीको महत्त्व ठुलो छ किनभने आफ्नो जीवनभन्दा ठुलो केही पनि छैन त्यो भएको हुनाले अब अहिले यो यस्तो महामारीको बेलामा बच्चालाई जोगाउन सकिएन भने पछि धेरै ठुल्ठुलो रोग लाग्न सक्छ मृत्यु हुन सक्छ अपाङ्ग हुन सक्छ जेसुकै पनि हुन सक्छ त्यो भएको हुनाले चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ अब बच्चाहरूको लागि र गर्भवती र सुत्केरी आमाहरूको लागि धेरै ठुलो भूमिका गर्नुपर्छ हामीले
We have just landed at Difa Airport, East Niger. I came here with my friend and colleague Antonio to film WFP operations for the recent mass displacement of people from Nigeria.
Donc, le village attaqué ici, et il y a un mouvement de population qui passe et que serait le goudron.
We drive more than 2 hours to reach Bosso. The situation is very tense, and soldiers are everywhere at the ready, digging trenches and waiting for the next orders.
We are in Bosso, a small town in Niger, right on the border with Nigeria. 200 meters, the border is there, it's just a riverbed. Since the outbreak of clashes in northern Nigeria, Niger has witnessed a massive influx of displacement. Probably 100,000 people already crossed the border in the last 4 or 5 months. And Bosso, a small town of 10,000 people, today accounts for 20,000 people, double the population. They fully depend on humanitarian assistance. WFP is scaling up its response by providing an emergency food assistance to the most vulnerable, displaced and host community population alike, with a particular focus on children under 5, mother, pregnant, lactating women.
We were invaded by the insurgents. I heard gunshots and I stepped out of my house. I saw 2 dead bodies, so I grabbed my baby and ran.
Bosso is the town we were yesterday. We received a radio communication that is being attacked, is under attack as we speak. And the base has called his mission off, so we had to pack and leave. We're now heading back to Difa.
Back in the office, some insurgents are attacking on the other side of the town. Fighter planes above our heads reassure us on the end result of the fighting. In fact, a few hours later, we learn that today the insurgents were defeated and pushed back. Antonio and the team drive me to the airport, but he and security officer Mark have decided to stay to monitor the situation closely.
Operation room number 2.
For a few days they stayed in Liffa, camped in the office.
Awesome.
But as fighting escalated, some staff was relocated to a safer place. A few remained to enable the humanitarian assistance to continue.
شو بتوعك عم يشتغل 10,000 الأجار 10,000 بدي أدفع أجار شقة 5 عيلات 5 عيلات بغطي وحدة أهلي وأخواتي الصغار في سوريا يعني ما في غير أنا وأخي الصغير عمره 12 سنة أنا عمري 14 سنة برجع على أهلي بشوف أخواتي الصغار هلا 3 سنين ما شفتهم احنا معود على مدرستي برجع على مدرستي مثل ما كنت مو بشتغل طلع ايدي كيف شايف ايدي كيف نشتغل فاعل خشنين تقول حجار ظهري عم يوجعني عم ينكسر ما عم خلص هاي عيشه وجيت لحالي انا واخي هون يعني تصرف ما بنعرف نتصرف اجيت هاي بشتغل 10 ساعات ب 10,000 بروح على المدرسه بس كيف بدي اعيش بس قولي لي كيف بدي اعيش رحت على المدرسة مصاريف المدرسة والشقة مين بدي ادفعها اكلنا كيف بدنا ناكل شو يعني بروح على المدرسة بموت شوف من شو من الحياة من هالدنيا
In Panama's port of Balboa, a container ship is being inspected for compliance with the Maritime Labour Convention 2006. The inspector looks into all aspects of the seafarers' working and living conditions.
That includes anything from relaxation areas, dining rooms, food storage and preparation, as well as respect for all cultures present on board, wages and working conditions, and of course, both the flag state and port state will strictly verify the certification that all officials and seafarers working on board are required to have.
A key document is the Maritime Labour Certificate, which confirms compliance with the Convention. It serves as a kind of ship's passport and helps fast-track port formalities.
La Convenzione MLC in ogni caso è un controllo in più che abbiamo a disposizione sia per noi e sia per l'autorità competente che ci controllano ci controllano ma nello stesso tempo ci aiutano.
Adopted by the ILO in 2006 and ratified to date by more than 40 countries, representing over 70% of the world's fleet, the Maritime Labour Convention 2006 provides comprehensive protection at work for seafarers.
It's a very, very special piece of legislation that will ensure that we can protect seafarers that are members of unions, but also seafarers that are not members. So we'll be looking to use the complaints procedure, the consultation with port state inspectors and flag state inspectors to make sure that seafarers' rights are fully protected in all areas of the Maritime Labour Convention.
Maritime transport is the backbone of international trade and the driving force for globalization. But for the world's 1.5 million seafarers, there had never been a clear set of rules and standards. The MLC 2006 changes that.
Now it's improved because they can bring the the documents for the safety on ships, especially the life of all seamen.
The MLC 2006 also helps protect quality ship owners against competition from ships where working and living conditions are substandard.
Ship owners are always looking for what we call a level playing field. So they're looking for equal application so that the costs on individual ship owners are the same, whatever trade they're in and whichever countries they're trading to. And I think that the Maritime Labour Convention will apply the level playing field very well in terms of standards of employment and working conditions on board the ship. So that levelling is the major advantage for the ship owner.
The result of an unprecedented consensus among governments, ship owners and seafarers organizations, the MLC 2006 will help improve working and living conditions on board the world's fleet and promote fair competition among ship owners.
Hello and welcome to ITC's Trade Compass. We are here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates looking at how small and medium-sized enterprises can enter new markets in the region and beyond.
Ali Abdullah Gharibi moved from Iran to Dubai 14 years ago, and along the way he's learned to speak a handful of foreign languages.
When you come into Dubai, you can see a lot of different people as coming from different countries. It's not only for business. When you come here, you can learn more language and you can know more people.
The Orient Herbs Trading Company is a family business located in Deira in eastern Dubai, home to the city's famous spice market. The spices come from all over the world, just like its customers.
It's coming from different countries, from India, Pakistan, Iran, Sri Lanka, Brazil, Madagascar. They're looking for the things that they find in them country. And even they find in them country, they cannot find this price, which one we are selling in Dubai.
Gharibi says it's very easy to do business in Dubai. The next step is to start targeting overseas markets.
I should have more experience about the spices, so maybe in the future I can do export to other countries.
His neighbor Jafar Musafa, who does business just a few doors away, has already taken that step. He sells his spices to customers in China, Egypt, India, Iran, Sri Lanka, and the United States.
Export to all of the world. The government support, this is the people for the import-export. Yeah, it's very, very easy.
Some of these enterprises have been in place for decades, with the family business handed down from one generation to another. Many enterprises start in a small way, like what you see here in Dubai's marketplace. What they need is access to finance, a business-friendly environment, and an introduction to trade networks. Getting bank loans is one of the biggest trade obstacles for small and medium-sized enterprises.
More access to finance, easy finance. I think that can help.
Shalimar Shoes imports footwear from China, India, and Thailand and ships them to Africa and the Middle East. Getting better access to finance would open up new opportunities for the business to grow.
Of course, there's going to be more finance. We're going to bring in more goods. Obviously, then sales will be much more higher.
Small and medium-sized enterprises, including these businesses selling shoes, spices, and other consumer products, account for around 95% of a country's economy. They generate close to 70% of jobs in the private sector. Their increased participation in global trade will boost economic growth and improve livelihoods. Natalie Domeisen, ITC, Dubai.
Digital technologies open up new opportunities for businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, to trade. I spoke with Costa Rica's Minister of Commerce, Alexander Mora, who explains.
All digital tools
are key now. Using technology to get information in order to make better decisions. And on the other side, using technology as an enabler. We're also approaching the Arab world. This is an area where we have very little previous exploration. Other than the distance, the geographic distance that we have, there are no other limitations. We are very aggressive in organic products. Costa Rica has a very good reputation as a green country. We're doing a significant progress in terms of agro-industrial products, so adding value to our agricultural products. Also doing a significant effort in increasing our services capacity. I think that in the future, through more information, more business intelligence, and we're improving that in the Arab world, our companies will have a much better position to come with new products and services to this region.
Looking ahead, ITC will be hosting its flagship event, the World Export Development Forum, in Qatar next year. Let's hear it from the host.
Qatar has recently started having a lot of activities in sport and social, matching this with the Qatar economy and enhancing the private sector. Qatar is a hub for such events worldwide.
Building the productive capacities of businesses through innovation and investments will drive trade development in a sustainable way. Thank you for joining us. I'm Susanna Pak in Dubai. See you again soon.
Amazina ganye ni egerese mu butatera. Ina myaka 80. Ina abana 6. Bine imyaka 5, undi yayinina, undi yayinishata. Ibizibu no kuronda kasente ko kugura amana icyo kurya n'esabuni no kugura ibyo kurya byo gukora byo kubarisa.
We tend to notice as a country that basically when children get to the age of 6 months, that is when the malnutrition begins to set in. Why? Because the knowledge around what type of complementary food to give to a child, how do you combine this complementary food, how do you mix it, how do you prepare it, we still continue to see gaps in that area. Stunting as a whole is attributed largely to 3 broader areas. Direct nutrition interventions can only contribute 1/3 of the piece. And then education also contributes the other 1/3 of the piece. And food security contributes the other 1/3 of the piece. A lot of community dialogue sessions are happening, but also community-led engagements on nutrition, food security, gender, livelihood, water and sanitation are key.
Baranyita Nkwaza Provia, nyina myaka 3 nyina abana 3. Owakashata yine myaka 2 n'eshweka. Amazina geni Atukunde Elizabeth. Omuntu go kubanza bari kuja kumupima bakumite connect. Elizabeth akaba ari mu mwaka 1 n'eshweka. Ati Elizabeth alije arasibarazana n'abundi bwana. Arakora nk'ebyabana mbwene byabana bakoraga. Community connector anyeje sakunda basa kuri somwana wo munda kurundi
we may not be able to fix the stunting.
Qualitatea उठेर अरू
अहिले त पढाइमा ध्यान दिएछ भने पढेर पहिला कुनै गरोस् न त्यसपछि बिहेको कुरा चल्छ भनेर
Zo zany farana. Dia hitako mazefatra be zany satria raha mba nisy diplôme zany zaho tokony tsy ohatr'izao no aviko angamba amin'ny fiainako.
Antonga zany ela mianatra. Antonga zany ela mianatra baka avy amin'ny tsy voaposiny ray aman-dreny 15 avy teo EPS 15 avy teo nisy olona angatiko dia nenambady mbola tsy raha zazama fijeriko ny hoaviny zany mbo taniako zany izy mbo tsy hanaraka ohatry za tegny e aniana sy fa taniako zany izy mbo lasa ambonimbony dia miposy azy foa zany zaze menara tsara e samby magnano tsy za toty zaze fa matsapa manegny
e raha misy zany olona miteny hoe tsy azo mandeha mianatra ny vavy fa maninona ny vehivavy tsy azo mandeha mianatra fa zareo koa mamaly fa ny lahy foana zany mahazo mandeha mianatra fa maninona ny vavy tsy azo mandeha mianatra satria le mamita fianarana zany le ohatra hoe no mianatra rehefa vita zany fianarana mba teny mpianatra reny dia zay zany mamita ny fianarana
whenever you see me, you will see them.
Pourquoi quelqu'un comme Zlatan, à qui tout le monde demande des autographes partout dans le monde, partout où il va, pourquoi on ne ferait pas l'inverse? Pourquoi ça ne serait pas Zlatan, cette fois-ci, à demander l'autographe à des personnes, des hommes, des femmes, des enfants que personne ne connaît au monde? Et là, l'aventure a commencé.
For me, the biggest disease in the world is hunger. There's 805 millions going through this hunger, and if I could, I would put every name on my body, but I'm sorry, I'm not so big. I'm big, but not so big. It's not a problem we cannot solve. I think we can solve it, and we just need to reach out to the world with this message, and I have highly respect for what World Food Program stands for. I stand behind it, and for me, what they do, it's amazing.
Hello and welcome to ITC's Trade Compass. We are in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates to explore ways in which enterprises can connect to value chains to access global markets.
The SMEs, just because of their size and their low turnover, they always are subjected to disproportionately because of the bad policies or the unfavorable business environment. The large companies, they can navigate through the maze of complex regulations. But SMEs find it very difficult. It entails fixed costs, and these fixed costs jack up the trade costs of the SMEs and make them uncompetitive. Any unfavorable environment, if it can be improved, will help SMEs much more than they will help the big companies. That is the reason that if you improve the business environment, if you improve the institutional support by which some of these challenges can be overcome, because these institutions can provide, for example, market support. They can hold fairs, trade fairs, and take SMEs to those trade fairs. If you are trying to access new markets, what is important is that you should understand what are the technical regulations, what is the tariff structure, which are the other impediments which you may have to face. Now, obtaining this information for SMEs is extremely difficult. Therefore, if the institutions like the TPOs can provide such information to the SMEs, these kind of costs can be minimized for SMEs and they can start exporting to the new markets. As the world globalizes, there is more and more movement of goods as well as capital and people. Therefore, investment these days has become extremely important for the SMEs to export. And as you know, international trade is growing in value chains, which has brought investment and trade together. They have in fact become the two sides of the same coin. This means that the investment promotion work and the trade promotion work will have to come together. It will have to be seen in coordination.
Efforts to promote increased investment in trade can help enterprises to grow internationally. This means enhancing the image of a country as a commercial hub. Natalie Demeisen has more.
Promoting a country abroad requires a deep understanding of cultural values and consumer trends. Prom Peru shares its perspective.
That branding umbrella gives you that opportunity and gives you that challenge and gives you that platform in order to give that information across. Doesn't matter if you're going to be giving a specific message or you're going to be giving a very general message. At the end of the day, if you put the country brand across, at least they will be able to identify you for something, for a product, for a place, or for an opportunity or a possibility. You have to understand what is your platform, what is your base, what is it that you want to communicate, and from there, take the best practices within the country that will let you portray the one that you want to portray abroad. This part of the world knows very little of what Latin America has to offer, and at the same time, Latin America knows very little of what the UAE and the Gulf region or the Middle East or Asia could offer. So at the end of the day, I would say that for promotion agencies, the biggest hurdle or the biggest challenge is the lack of information. If you don't have your culture, or if you don't take into consideration where you're coming from or where you're trying to head towards to, then you wouldn't having a proper brand. In terms of Peru, the brand of Peru is one that incorporates everything on its own.
Trade is opening up new avenues for socio-economic transformation here and around the world. That's all for now. I'm Susanna Pak in Dubai. Thank you for watching.
Migrant workers living in Europe. Last year, they sent home more than $109 billion in remittances. According to the report, Sending Money Home, European Flows and Markets, released by the International Fund for Agricultural Development, or IFAD.
Western Europe and Russia account today for 1/5 of the global flows to developing countries. They are second just to North America.
At a time when unprecedented numbers of migrants and refugees are trying to enter Europe, the IFAD report focuses on migrant workers, like Melina Safranca, who make up 90% of migrants worldwide. Melina lives in Rome with her husband and daughter. Some of the money she earns is sent to the Philippines to support her 2 teenage children.
I come to Italy because my children wants to go in high university and to become a doctor.
Although the reasons may vary, when added together, the small sums that millions of migrant workers in Europe sent home last year tell a much bigger story about survival and opportunity. In 2014, 1/3 of European remittances, or $36.5 billion, went to the Balkans, the Baltics, and Eastern Europe, while the remaining 2/3, or $72.9 billion, went to over 50 developing countries outside of Europe. Despite these numbers, the report says remittances from Europe did not represent a significant outflow of wealth, amounting to less than 0.7% of individual country GDP. The money that Melina sends home to her children is earned cleaning houses and babysitting in Rome.
They need money because if you go to university in Manila, we need money to pay tuition fees and allowances.
In addition to education, the majority of remittances received in developing countries are spent on necessities like food, clothing, shelter, and medicine. Very little is saved or invested. With 40% of remittances going to rural areas, the report suggests that remittances could play a critical role in transforming poor communities if both migrants and their families at home had better access to financial services and financial education courses like this one offered in Rome by IFAD. Migrants taking part learn about the benefits of saving and budgeting, as well as how to start their own businesses or make investments in agriculture in their home countries. Globally, IFAD estimates that $80 billion could be available for investment if migrant workers and receiving families were given more options like this.
Remittances present a crucial opportunity for financial inclusion, and the reason is very simple. You have millions of people sending money to their loved ones in developing countries, and they do that from cash to cash. If we could only channel some of that into the financial service providers network, it would have a tremendous opportunity for financial inclusion. It would be able to bank millions of people.
Another opportunity to increase the impact of remittances is to lower the cost to send them. While progress has been made over the last few years to lower transfer costs, the IFAD report says that more could be done through increased competition.
In the case of Europe, for instance, if you could reduce by only 1% the cost of sending remittances, this will be equivalent of $1 billion in savings.
Savings that migrant workers like Melina and her husband would send back to their home countries to help build a better life for their children.
त्यो भएर हामीले यो पानीमा के पिउस हाल्नुपर्छ 1 लिटरमा 3 थोपा पानी पिउस हाल्नुपर्छ अनि त्यति होइन त्यति नगर्ने हो भने फिल्टर गरेर पहिला फिल्टर गर्ने पछि पानी उमाल्ने
हामीले 13 वटा नम्बरबाट 15 वटा चाहिँ हामी पिए भ्याली टेस्ट गर्यौं जसमा चाहिँ करिब 50% जतिको चाहिँ पानी चाहिँ एकदम पोल्युटेड देखियो हैन जसमा चाहिँ यस्तो कालो पर्ने 7 देखि 8 वटा जति चाहिँ कालो हुने यही फोहोर पानीको कारणले हैजा फैलिने कोलेरा विभिन्न तरिकाको पानीजन्य रोगहरू लागिरहेका छन् त्यही अनुसार हामीले यो घर घरमा गएर जारको धाराको सरकारी धाराको कुनै कुनै हामी इनारको पनि गर्यो इनारको पनि खान्छु भनेर भन्यो र हामीले इनारको पनि गर्यो कुनैमा चाहिँ हामीले नेगेटिभ देख्यौं त्यही कारणले अब अवेयरनेस फैलाउँदै र पानीको परीक्षण गर्दै हामी 13 वटा नम्बरबाट हामी गइरहेको छौं
आमाले पनि अब दाइले पनि सबैजनाले चाहिँ साबुन पानीले हात धुनै पर्छ जे गरे पनि है किनभने त्यो हैजा भन्ने चीज चाहिँ जस्तो झाडापखला जस्तो हैन के झाडापखला भने 10 गुणा डर लाग्दो हुन्छ वरिपरि पनि सबैजनालाई पनि भनिदिनुस् न हैन
धेरै झाडापखला र हैजा चाहिँ देखियो अब अहिले हामी यो पानी परीक्षणको लागि हिँडिरहेका छौं आज 3-4 दिन भइसक्यो अब कसैलाई पनि नलागोस् भन्ने लागि विद्यार्थी मार्फत पठाउनलाई यो सञ्चार गर्न सजिलो होस् भनेर हामीले यसको लागि राखेको
हैजा चाहिँ विभिन्न कारणले लाग्न सक्छ हैजा पानीजन्य रोगहरूबाट लाग्छ अनि हामीले फोहोर पानी खायो भने फिल्टर नगरी पानी खायो भने हामीलाई रोग लाग्न सक्छ हामीले पानी यदि पिउस हालेर फिल्टर गरेर उमालेर अनि घाममा राखेर खायो भने हामीलाई किटाणुहरूबाट टाढा हुन्छ हैजा लागेपछि पेट दुख्छ बेस गर्न गाह्रो हुन्छ अनि धेरै दुख्यो भने हामी अस्पताल जानुपर्छ
Hola y bienvenidos a ITC Trade Compass. Hoy, desde Dubái, en los Emiratos Árabes Unidos, exploraremos cómo las empresas pueden conectarse a las cadenas de valor y acceder a los mercados mundiales.
The SMEs, just because of their size and their low turnover, they always are subjected to disproportionately because of the bad policies or the unfavorable business environment. The large companies, they can navigate through the maze of complex regulations. But SMEs find it very difficult. It entails fixed costs, and these fixed costs jack up the trade costs of the SMEs and make them uncompetitive. Any unfavorable environment, if it can be improved, will help SMEs much more than they will help the big companies. That is the reason that if you improve the business environment, if you improve the institutional support by which some of these challenges can be overcome, because these institutions can provide, for example, market support. They can hold fairs, trade fairs, and take SMEs to those trade fairs. If you are trying to access new markets, what is important is that you should understand what are the technical regulations, what is the tariff structure, which are the other impediments which you may have to face. Now, obtaining this information for SMEs is extremely difficult. Therefore, if the institutions like the TPOs can provide such information to the SMEs, these kind of costs can be minimized for SMEs and they can start exporting to the new markets. As the world globalizes, there is more and more movement of goods as well as capital and people. Therefore, investment these days has become extremely important for the SMEs to export. And as you know, international trade is growing in value chains, which has brought investment and trade together. They have in fact become the two sides of the same coin. This means that the investment promotion work and the trade promotion work will have to come together. It will have to be seen in coordination.
La promoción de un país en el extranjero requiere un profundo conocimiento de los valores culturales y las tendencias de consumo. Prom Perú ha compartido con nosotros su punto de vista al respecto.
Lo más importante en estos momentos, sobre todo hablando de cara a lo que representa América Latina o lo que puede representar esta región que estamos acá en el Medio Oriente, es la falta de comunicación. Si nosotros tenemos una marca o una marca país que nos da la posibilidad de poder comunicar las oportunidades, las posibilidades, promover un destino o promover un producto a través de un solo paraguas, nos da esa plataforma y esa esencia que las empresas o las agencias o los mismos países pudiesen estar careciendo. Entonces, desde ese punto de vista, ya el simple hecho de tener una marca que te dé a conocer más allá de lo que puedes ofrecer es vital. Es un proceso de encontrarse a sí mismo, ¿no? Y tener y saber y entender cuáles son las posibilidades y las oportunidades y la esencia del país para poder tenerlo como base para crear una marca que realmente represente lo que el país quiere representar o lo que el país quiere comunicar. Entonces yo creo que se deberían de unir tanto el sector privado como el sector público y tomar las mejores experiencias de cada uno de ellos para unirse como una sola fuerza y crear ese mensaje y esa imagen que se quiere dar a comunicar internacionalmente. Si uno no tiene en consideración de dónde viene y no tiene en consideración de dónde ha nacido y cuáles son sus raíces y cómo las utiliza para ver hacia dónde va a perder esa esencia y entonces esa marca no va a ser la correcta. Yo creo que es fundamental que se tengan en consideración los aspectos culturales de otros países para poder crear esas sinergias. Sin embargo, si uno empieza a modificar o adaptar su marca a los aspectos culturales de donde quiere ingresar, para mí entender quisiese decir de que la marca como tal no es lo suficientemente fuerte y no se han tomado en consideración las esencias del país como para tenerla que modificar.
El comercio está abriendo nuevas avenidas de transformación socioeconómica aquí y alrededor del mundo. Esto es todo por el momento. Jesús Serrano en Dubái. Gracias por seguir ITC Trade Compass. Las tecnologías de la información y la comunicación son un factor clave para el desarrollo socioeconómico y Bangladesh aspira a convertirse en un líder en este campo mediante la capitalización del crecimiento del sector de servicios. Echemos un vistazo a cómo Bangladesh está tratando de fortalecer su posición en el mercado regional y mundial. Pagar las facturas, reservar tus vacaciones o la banca electrónica. Todo esto se puede hacer ahora fácilmente a través de dispositivos en nuestra era digital, gracias a los avances de las tecnologías de la información y la comunicación, TIC. Este es un campo de rápido crecimiento en Bangladesh, con más de 200.000 profesionales en el sector de servicios de subcontratación de procesos empresariales de las tecnologías de la información y la comunicación. El proyecto del gobierno llamado Una visión de Bangladesh tiene como objetivo alcanzar $1.000 millones en servicios TIC y exportaciones de programas informáticos para el 2018, generando oportunidades de empleo para 1 millón de profesionales cualificados en TIC.
Everybody in the ecosystem understand the importance of ICT in the country's development role. Starting from government, we should remind you that government itself, the current government, has declared the vision of 2021, which they are calling Digital Bangladesh. So the whole country is moving towards the Vision 2021 Digital Bangladesh vision. So that indicates, that clarifies the importance of ICT in country's development. We try to attract the investors to invest in the IT sector of Bangladesh. We have been organizing US-Bangladesh Tech Investment Summit in the Silicon Valley, US. We have been organizing the Europe-Bangladesh Tech Investment Summit. We are also working with projects like NTF, working together with ITC, Dutch government. We are working together with Danish government. And the global community is taking Bangladesh very positively. We have been selected as the top 30 outsourcing destination by Gartner. A.T. Kearney has selected Bangladesh as the 26th ICT country in the whole world. The 160 million populated country with such a huge youth population, the potential is tremendous. So through this opportunity, I welcome the whole world to come Bangladesh and invest here. 2019, there is no tax, no corporate tax for the ICT sector. So which indicates that in terms of policy, infrastructure, and HR, so everywhere the capacity building is in place to welcome the new investment in Bangladesh.
Un seminario del Centro de Comercio Internacional, celebrado en Dhaka en diciembre de 2014, reunió al gobierno junto con asociaciones para el desarrollo, así como empresas clave en el campo de las TIC y los servicios informatizados, para examinar los desafíos y las oportunidades del proyecto Una visión de Bangladesh. Los 5 últimos años han visto mejoras en la conectividad a Internet en Bangladesh, con gran inversión extranjera en el sector, liderada por gigantes de la tecnología mundial como Samsung y AMD, quienes han establecido centros de investigación y desarrollo en el país. Los participantes son optimistas sobre el potencial de crecimiento de la industria de las TIC e ITES en Bangladesh.
I hope that the government of Bangladesh is going to play an active role to continue this conversation in organizing it together with basis. I believe it should be a strongly public-private partnership within Bangladesh, and we are just guests here to help. But it should be led by the Bangladesh, not by the donor community.
I think the stakeholder alignment workshop is very valuable, just to get all the parties around the table, making sure that government is speaking to NGOs, that is speaking to donor community, that is speaking to the private sector and the branch organizations. I mean, everyone has their own strengths and their own weaknesses, and I think in working together in maybe a PPP, that's the most valuable thing that you can do in starting towards a digital vision for Bangladesh. So the framework and the structure is already there. Now by speaking to each other and making sure that we're aligning our activities, I think everyone can play their own little part in making sure that the vision is achieved.
Desarrollar el potencial de los profesionales de las TIC a través de la mejora de sus capacidades y conocimientos tecnológicos es fundamental para fortalecer el crecimiento del sector a largo plazo.
This 1 million job creation or this $1 billion export or this significant value addition local economy requires multiple stakeholders to work together to create momentum in a way so that we get a maximum benefit from our limited resources. That means our development approach should be effective, should be efficient, and in order to do that, multiple stakeholders should be aligned together. So this kind of workshop certainly facilitate the process of letting stakeholders to share their views, and converge to the point which deserve the attention.
Mejorar las capacidades de gestión y la prestación de apoyo a la innovación, incluyendo el desarrollo de productos y aplicaciones digitales para mejorar la conectividad y el comercio, ayudará a avanzar en el objetivo de Bangladesh de distinguirse en la industria de las TIC e ITES a nivel mundial. A medida que los países adoptan una economía basada en el conocimiento, la información y la comunicación juegan un papel clave en el desarrollo. El proyecto NTF3 contribuirá a impulsar el sector de las tecnologías de la información y la comunicación de Bangladesh, dando soluciones a las empresas para mejorar los servicios y aumentar a través de una gestión de datos mejorada y del comercio electrónico, lo que las ayudará a expandirse a nivel global. Jesús Serrano, Trade Compass, Dhaka.
From United Nations Television, this is UN in Action.
The Syrian conflict, now in its fourth year, has forced over 2.7 million people to the country. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has documented gross human rights violations committed by both sides of the conflict. So far, Syrians have fled to Turkey, Jordan, Iraq, Egypt, and Lebanon. But Lebanon bears the greatest burden, hosting more than 1 million Syrian refugees. Abu Yazan, not his real name, is one of them. He's next in line to see a doctor at Restart Center in northern Lebanon. Abu has been a patient here for nearly 2 years. Before fleeing Syria in 2012, he was accused of being a terrorist and held in detention. He says he was tortured.
شحمت الدم وبحلمة الصدر يعني بمناطق الحساسة كثير كانوا يحطوا لنا الكهرباء بس أكثريتها كان بالأعضاء التناسلية وأبشع شيء كان هذا كله بالحمل أنك تكون غرفة ما بتطلع قد الغرفة هي يكون فيها 60 64 مرة عندنا 64 شاب.
Dr. Sana Hamza, a psychotherapist, has been overseeing Abu Yazan's treatment.
He came with a lot of precaution and cautiousness. So after built confidentiality with him, he started to have this confidence towards us and also towards himself.
Abu is bitter about the attacks against him and considers them degrading.
وأتمنى من الله عز وجل ما يحط إنسان باللي انحطينا فيه. عفوا أنا انحطيت بهيك شيء في غيري انحط بأسوأ من هيك.
Fear the same fate as Abu experienced, men and children continue to cross over into Lebanon in search of a better life where they can live in dignity. And with the help of Restart, which is supported and financed by the UN Fund for Victims of Torture, there's hope, says Director Dr. Suzanne Jabour.
The main services those victims are mental health, included psychiatric services, psychotherapy, and also legal support.
Restart also has treatment centers in the capital Beirut and in Tripoli. In 2013, 180 victims were treated. This Restart expects to reach at least an additional 150 patients. Although the medical services are provided free of charge, many victims like Yusuf, his real name, are still reluctant to speak out. When he finally opened up, Yusuf said he was held captive and subjected to electric shock for allegedly taking part in protests.
But since they constructed the gas latrine, we flush. And the gas is produced to be cooked, to be used.
moment we are flashing, the physicist goes, but it is only the hair to come and cook for us food now. We enjoy.
I started Lego in Mind because I wanted to bring robotics to the children of Jamaica. And the idea was that we would bring these robotics workshops to children regardless of their background. So for children who could afford to pay and for children who could not.
Me feel good because things they never see, yes, you know, things they never feel. You know, like sometimes I watch a show, you see a robot movie, I say, Jesus, please, I couldn't meet that man.
I can build and I can explore.
They build the robots and then they do the activity. Program it, test it, doesn't work, they start again.
The most exciting part of Lego Your Mind is when I'm finished and I see that, yes, I did that on my own and the robot is working.
They've learned some very fundamental engineering skills in terms of how to build. But it also, I think, gives them a certain level of confidence in knowing that I can program a robot and build a robot to solve a particular problem, which I hope that they see as a bigger metaphor for life.
I remember when Jake showed on that side and Goody Jane was in war. We have to be under the bed, you know, hiding from the gunshots because you don't know if it's coming through the window or what. So, you know, you don't feel secure.
Play cricket, football and them something like that. Them things they me like. When the war are gone, everybody have to stay.
You say the devil finds work for idle hands, so when Marvin would be having like outreach and workshop and so on, would be wanting of like communities to roll out his programs in, I'd be a convener for the program, seeing that the benefits that the children from the community could get from the Lego Your Mind.
Duran Wright was a resident in that community, and they used the fact that the workshop was happening on that borderline as a way to reach out to children from all around the community, from all different sides, from warring factions, from, you know, from wherever. The kids that are a part of Lego Your Mind, they have family members that have been murdered, or, you know, it's a couple degrees separating the kids and the violence. I wanted to empower Duran without giving him a gun, without giving him money, but just giving him a chance to give others a chance in this community.
If you could have one more college graduate per household, that could change the community.
I remember once mentioning the fact that, you know, I have this guy who's done so well at this school and went on to do his master's in engineering. He lives in this community, and the person remarked, oh, he sounds like one of those who needs to get out. But if they're best leave, then who is there to shine the light back on the community? Who is there to make the community be inspired to become something better?
I'm supportive of education and trying to foster mentorship for the youths.
You need more Durans in these different lanes who, you know, are willing to stay there and hold them head high and hold them strength when everything is fighting against you.
Alright, in the next 10 years, we want to own a company. We make like robot.
I would like to be back in Mountain View, helping other students who probably don't have the opportunity that I had now.
Mountain View nice, you know, nice like me that go and come back. Yeah, go and come back.
Jamal Koulibaly, milieu récupérateur.
Noubissi Charles Estève Blondel, défenseur central.
Ivo Koné, right back.
Je viens de Guinée-Conakry. J'ai perdu mon père. Mes études s'étaient arrêtées. J'ai travaillé des travails durs là-bas, aller cultiver.
Je suis venu en France pour poursuivre mes études, pour aider ma famille après. Parce que en ce moment-ci, ils sont vraiment en difficulté.
I feel that I'll come here one day, things will get better.
C'est des jeunes qui sont seuls, qui ont souvent des papiers d'identité. Et malgré tous ces documents, on vient souvent leur dire non, vous n'êtes pas mineur. Ils ont des refus de prise en charge.
Je n'ai pas mes papiers, je suis en attente, ils m'ont dit d'attendre.
Quand je suis arrivé, j'ai dormi dehors pendant 2 semaines.
Pendant cette phase d'attente, ils ne peuvent rien faire. Ils passent leur journée à devoir s'occuper d'une façon ou d'une autre. Et nous, il nous semblait que le sport, à ce moment-là, est un des meilleurs passe-temps parce qu'ils permettent de se défouler, de se vider la tête, de penser à autre chose.
As long as I'm playing football, I don't think too much. So I will focus on the game.
C'est en écoutant ces jeunes-là qu'on s'est dit qu'il y avait sûrement moyen de faire quelque chose, de constituer notre propre équipe. C'était aussi de donner un peu plus de visibilité à des situations que beaucoup ignorent. Un jeune à la rue, quand il vient d'arriver en France pour trouver une protection, c'est absolument insupportable. On est 5 à vouloir passer l'examen d'avocat au mois de septembre et j'ai un peu mis les révisions de côté, d'ailleurs complètement mis les révisions de côté là. Donc ça prend beaucoup de temps, mais c'est en même temps pas vraiment un travail parce que c'est super stimulant.
Si je parle d'être pas pris en charge, mais ce n'est pas comme avant. Avant j'étais seul. Maintenant j'ai beaucoup d'amis. Maintenant le temps me passe vite.
أنا اسمي أحمد الظاهر وأنا عمري 7 سنين وأنا من سوريا. ألمانيا عجبتني كتير وفيها ملاعب مفتوحة للكل. أنا من بلعب كرة قدم عم بنبسط كتير والطابة هي يعني بحب الطابة كتير وأنا بلعب طابة عم بفكر كتير برفقاتي بسوريا. يعني اللي احنا ما نوقف بالطابة نهائيا.
لا أنا انتبهت على ابني إنه عنده موهبة كرة القدم لما صار عمره 2 تقريبا. هو نزل عرض الملعب كان عمره 1 سنة. بعدين بعد ما صار عمره 2 وصار هيك شوي يعني يلعب بالكرة مظبوط. هلا لما انتبهت أنا إنه ابني عنده موهبة أنا كرست حياتي كلها لإله. لما بلشت الحرب بسوريا مثل ما قلت لك اختلفت الحياة كلياتها. يعني الرياضة ما عاد لها مستقبل بسوريا، هيك اللي حسيته أنا. أنا حلمي كله رياضي يعني. فقررت إني أترك سوريا مشان الموضوع هذا. أنا تركت سوريا لأنه مشان مستقبل ابني. بألمانيا بدك تعتبر إنه حياة جديدة يعني. بدك ترجع تأقلم فيها وتبني فيها من أول وجديد حياتك. ايه انا مشتغل سوريا كتير. سوريا يعني اللي ما عاش بسوريا ما بيعرف معنى كلمة سوريا. سوريا ام الدنيا سوريا. ايه انا زعلان لانه ابني عم يرضى برات سوريا. انا سوريا كتير بلد حلو، بس اللي بيعزيني بالموضوع هذا على انه موهبته عم تنمى بطريقة علمية واضحة وبينة. رغبته بالحياة تكون حارس على أحمد. بالنسبة لتدريب أحمد بشكل يومي يعني يتدرب هو ما بعد الظهر. وأحمد موهوب يعني بعطيه الكرة يتدرب لحاله، بيعرف شو بده يشتغل. هلا حلمي لأحمد إنه يوصل للعالمية، يدخل على أكاديمية عالمية تنمي له موهبته وتعطيه التمارين اللي بتناسب موهبته. بتوقع إنه ألمانيا قادرة تحقق له هالشيء هذا.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining us in the SDG Media Zone. My name is Francine Harrigan. I work in the United Nations Department of Public Information, and we're streaming live this week from the United Nations General Assembly here in New York. It's my pleasure to introduce the next panel on creativity for the goals, and to introduce Maher Nasser, the Director of the Outreach Division in the Department of Public Information, who will lead the next discussion and introduce the speakers. Thank you, Maher.
Thank you, Francine, and good morning. I'm very excited because this is one of the panels that works on an issue that is very dear and near to my heart, creativity for the goals, because without creativity we can never really achieve the goal of making the goals not only known, but also aspirational and people commit to doing them. So I'll start from my right and go all the way, and then I'll start the discussion. So David Jones, founder Jones, then Jude Auer, CEO of PlayMob, Barry Savage, the chairman of the Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity, and last but not least, Jacob Trollback from Trollback, founder of Trollback and Company. Maybe starting with Jacob. Jacob, for those of you who don't know, is the designer of the icons, the 7 Sustainable Development Goals and the SDG. And I think, let's give him a hand of applause, please. I remember the Millennium Development Goals, and I have seen maybe, I can't tell you how many different iterations of the icons that were introduced and created for the MDGs. Different countries develop different ones, different UN organizations use different symbols. But for the SDGs, we have had consent truncate all that goal with these words. And I think we had to make the case for the importance of symbolism and the easier it is for us to promote.
Yeah, there was causes and events around causes. Only one carried the SDG logo. And I think one of the things that we can help do, and I think must be done, is that there are so many different voices of organizations